who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL. When things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, probably like this and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Just based upon how they're set up from a salary cap perspective. There's always some interesting situations in terms of some of their veteran players. And we got at least a couple of them who we haven't seen a whole lot through the spring.
Marshawn Lattimore has been away from the team during OTAs as he was the subject of trade rumors. He is expected to participate in the minicamp this week. As Nick Underhill of New Orleans Football reported, he was on his way traveling to New Orleans to be a part of the minicamp this week. The other guy we're keeping an eye on is Alvin Kamara, who's been away. Now, head coach Dennis Allen did say recently that Kamara's got a family now, and that's pulling on him, whereas it wasn't maybe earlier in his career. So, yeah, he'd like to have as many people there as possible, but he understands that he has got responsibilities elsewhere. So he hadn't been there, but all indications are that he'll probably be there for mandatory minicamp. It's not necessarily a contract type situation, although he is entering the final year of his deal at $11.8 million. Not the final year. He's got another year after this one, but the number is $25 million. It was one of those big numbers to inflate the average annual value of the deal. So you would think the Saints, if they want to keep Kamara beyond this year, at some point have to do something with his contract. But
yes, indeed. Shout out to the fan. Appreciate y'all being in this episode of the Coma. And like I've been saying for some time now, welcome, welcome, welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, but we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to the fan. Appreciate y'all being in this Monday stream. Big ups to everybody. I see y'all all chimed in. JT Eternal. Shout out to you, Quavadius. All right, Sodactastic. Shout out to you. I hope I'm saying that right. Sodactastic X. Is that right? That one always get me hemmed up. Shout out to Roll, Bronze, Mocha, Poppy 504. Big ups to everybody, man. Good to see y'all in this thing as well. Appreciate you guys for being in this thing. So in it, listen, fam, if y'all got any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat section. By all means, feel free to kind of put a cue before you ask the question so that'll pop out so I can automatically recognize you guys. Do that. Shout out to you. Appreciate you. I know it always gets me. I don't know, man. Sometimes, hey, listen, I'm sorry, man. I sometimes I'll be screwing up names and stuff, I have to apologize, But shout out to you guys. Thank y'all for spending your afternoon with me. We're gonna talk a few things today, man, in the mighty Who Dat Nation, man. We opened the broadcast up with that interview from NFL.com as they were talking about some of the things about the Saints. We did hear Dennis Allen make mention of his expectation is for Lattimore to be at camp. And of course, the report did mention Nick Underhill, shout out to Nick, that the Saints, that Lattimore will be there. Alvin Kamara will ultimately be there. And you can see that the reporter did mention Alvin Kamara's contract situation, which is something that will be talked about this, later on in this, going into this year. And I expect, my expectations, and I know Dennis Allen says he don't care about any expectations outside of the building, but listen, my expectations in terms of what Alvin Kamara will do in this upcoming season is off the chains. And I'm saying that because if they can some kind of way take, and like I said, Elvin Kamara, in many ways, his skill set is actually, I'm not trying to disparage McCaffrey, who the 49ers have, as because he's fantastic. But Elvin Kamara, in many respects, his skill set does, it has the ability to go beyond McCaffrey's ability. Yeah, you see what I'm saying here? I think that, and they're both great backs, but I think Elvin Kamara might have a little bit more. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen him just go all out and just have a fantastic explosion of stats in football like we seen what the 49ers did with Christian McCaffrey last year. I mean, without his production, they could not have done what they did. He was phenomenal for them last year. And could we anticipate that with AK-41? Listen, and then, of course, you got 2 years remaining on his contract. He's coming up with a big old bump. And if he performs and has a big year, who knows? You know, but we getting closer toward him as he getting closer into his 30s. And that's when some of these running backs tend to kind of drop off. But listen, Elvin Kamara is not like most running backs, just like Christian McCaffrey. Those guys are multi-purpose backs that can play wide receiver if you need them to. Really, if you have an imagination, Elvin Kamara very rarely should leave the field. Like when he feels like he need a little rest, you run him off and put somebody else out there. But man, Elvin Kamara, if you know how to use him properly on the football field, you have him at running back. You can line him up as a wide receiver. He has he catches the ball as well as most wide receivers in the game. He's just an ultimate complement for whatever you got going on out there. So if the Saints played is just right, offensively speaking, there is not it's the imagination factor. Can they capture that with the Saints this year with Taysom Hill lining up at running back, Elvin Kamara, Kendre Miller, Jamal Williams and his Pokemon stuff? Then you talk about all the other fantastic talent like Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Jawan Johnson. Don't sleep on Jawan Johnson. Please don't sleep on Jawan Johnson either. A lot of talent, man. A lot of talent for the black and gold. So anyway, let's get into one of the reports right here. We'll go over a couple of articles right here. You can see this one here. And this is one right here that we talked about and made mention of, is that Lattimore is at the team facility as expected for minicamp this upcoming week. This is from NBC Sports. They came out and they're pretty much just quoting what Nick Underhill had tweeted out. The fact that, or what he reported on, is that Saints cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, who y'all remember last year was quite disgruntled with Dennis Allen's lack of direction and the losing that was going on with the Saints. It was a lot of drama going on, and then Dennis Allen ultimately did say he expects him to be here for 2024. We know that the trade window, not saying he will be, but right now it's still June the 1st until the start of the season. So we know at some point the Saints are going to have to address this situation in terms of what's going on with it probably at least going into next year. We'll have to determine on what that will look like. You see what I'm saying here, fam? But anyway, back to the article. It says the subject of trade rumors this offseason, Lattimore, they were talking about him. He skipped the team voluntary offseason program, not participating in organized team activities is something Lattimore has done in the past. He will, however, attend the Saints mandatory mini camp this week. And of course, and that's what I was saying. Like a lot of people were like saying, Q, he's missing out on this, he's missing out on that. And I said, listen, as long as you give them the option, it is what it is. You can't be mad when they don't come, and this is listed as voluntary. That means they have the right to either refuse or go. You give them an option. Many go, some don't. So you see what I'm saying? And people's like, man, we need y'all to just be there every day so we can get this together. Well, as long as you give them the option, some of them will go home and get their rest and spend time with the fam. It's a long season, right? But anyway, when you say mandatory, they show up because if they don't, money start getting taken out of the pockets. So that is not financially makes sense to some players. So, like I said, Underhill reported that Lattimore is at the team facility ahead of Tuesday's start of minicamp. He spent his entire career with the Saints after joining the team as the 11th overall pick in 2017. It appears that will continue for an 8th season. Injuries have limited Lattimore to a total of 17 games the past 2 years. With 2 total picks, he's made the Pro Bowl back in 2021. That seems so long ago. Lattimore's contract runs through 2026, but this is the final year he has with the guaranteed money. So this very well could be Lattimore's final season with the Saints. He is due to count over $14 million against the cap this season. So, like I said, man, they said Lattimore will be in the building. We're happy to have Lattimore because with Laddie Daddy, Paulson Adebo, who's coming up on a contract year as well. Paulson looking to get super paid. Laddie Daddy getting a bump at 14.6. Then you have the drafting of Kool-Aid McKinstry, who's getting healthy. He should be getting ready to kind of contribute. You heard Dennis Allen talk about that on the last show when he was talking about the players. And then, of course, you have Alante Taylor there. So we have a fantastic secondary, and our cornerbacks, at least this year, we'll be able to see how it all works out, man. So could anybody out there say top 5, baby? Could they say that top 5, perhaps top 3 secondary in the NFL? Wouldn't be surprised if it's number 1 with a bullet if we can stay healthy, man. How about that? All right, so anyway, let's keep it pumping and pushing, man. Let's go to this next article here as we talk about, and shout out to Kat Terrell as she wrote this one here about 2024 Saints minicamp, Derek Carr's backup cornerbacks, and more. So, of course, with the minicamp coming in, we get some more looks at a couple of the guys that really kind of caught the Who Dat Nation's imagination, as well as other things. And what really makes this year's Saints minicamp really interesting is Clint Kubiak coming in with a whole new system, which breeds a certain amount of excitement about what could be done correctly, correctly, responsibly, thoroughly with the Saints weapons, because we have a lot of really solid players offensive, a lot of questions dealing with the offensive line, but damn near a whole new staff, offensively speaking, offensive coordinator, running backs coach, wide receivers coach, offensive line coach, QB's coach, you name it. On offense, we got it. So this will be an interesting situation because it also opens up questions about how the Saints defense will also defend that Clint Kubiak offense that over the previous several practices has shown the consistency, if you want to use that word, of being able to get in and out of the pocket, in terms of the huddle, getting in and out of the huddle, out of its sets at a good rate. So you're seeing it's a faster rate. So obviously Clint Kubiak, Andrew Janoku, and others, who's a QB coach, they're doing a good job of trying to set the timing and get the timing right of how everything's supposed to go for what that offense is. And like I said, they have the weapons in place to make this work, man. But anyway, let's get into the article right here from Kat Terrell. She says Saints running back Jamal Williams. She talks about him. We played this interview about Jamal Williams. Everybody loves Jamal Williams because Jamal Williams is a big kid. He's fun. He has fun. He talks about his cats. He loves Pokemon. He loves video games. He loves anime. Hey, man, I grew up loving anime. I don't really like cats that much until I did. It was one cat that I actually liked, and his name was Lucky, and that was the only cat, and Lucky kind of drew to me, and he was always, and that kind of said, you know what, cats are cool. Prior to that, I'm a dog guy. I love dogs, but yeah, but I have to give him something on the cats. A lot of people don't like the cats, but listen, man, there was one cat in the world, and his name was Lucky. He was pretty cool with me. But anyway, let's talk about this. She talked about Clint Kubiak's new offense, and we know that he described it as me likey, so just what he is, what a smile. But, when you look at it, he said Williams wasn't talking about the 2022 offense. He scored 17 touchdowns with the Lions, or even the successful offense of the past Saints teams. He was specifically recalling when Raheem Mostert, who was an absolute beast when he was there for the 49ers, he was just ridiculous in that scheme, how they used him in the other running backs. Then with the Niners rushed for 220 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Packers back in the 2018 playoffs. The Saints intend to run a similar version of that style of offense made famous by Mike Shanahan and Gary Kubiak, who's the father of course, Clint Kubiak. He says it's kind of success Williams can get behind. I've seen this offense before. Y'all remember what he says going against it, watching. I remember what Mostert going crazy against the Green Bay Packers. The Saints, who recently announced Drew Brees was inducted as well. We talked about that with the Pete Carmichael thing and all that kind of stuff. But what's really interesting of it, as we kind of move into the training, actually the mandatory minicamp situation that's opening up, because this will be the last time that we get a look at the Saints before we don't see them all the way until when the big camp starts. So, it's already heating up. And remember, that camp is supposed to be moved out to California because there's supposed to be repairs, I think, that's going on airline that will be getting done while they're training out there, trying to get the cafeteria situation and a lot of that going and fixed for the New Orleans Saints, because it was voted as one of the pathetic, for the last couple of years, it got sour grape grades from the players and staff about how it was. So they finally took some of the money and decided to do something with it with the team, which is a positive, man. You can't have people, saying such and such, man. We the city of food. So at least the Saints, they got to represent, get some good food, some chefs, and have something down there. You can't have roaches and all that stuff. I'm not saying, I'm just messing. Anyway, let's get back to it. Jake Haener isn't conceding the backup quarterback spot. Now, the rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler received a lot of early attention after the Saints took him in the 5th round of this year's draft, and eyes will be on him as well. But it's second-year quarterback Jake Haener you got to look out for, according to Cat, who looked consistently impressive in his early days at the backup quarterback competition. And remember, there were reports that came out about Jake Haener working with John Gruden in the offseason. So Jake Haener, if you remember Jake coming into the league last year, Jake Haener was never known to be a guy with a big arm, but he always was a guy that people talked about with a high football IQ, and also the fact that he was very accurate. So sitting 1 year behind Derek Carr, going out there working with Coach Gruden to hopefully get his game together, it appears to have bore fruit, as Jake Haener's been looking pretty crisp in these past practices that we've seen in the OTAs. So anyway, Allen said that Rattler, who has thrown 3 interceptions during the portion of OTAs, open to media, is learning that throwing windows close more quickly in the NFL than in college. But Allen said that's all a part of the learning process. I'm encouraged by what I see out of him, and certainly there's a lot of improvement left to be had. I think he's making some good progress. He said he wasn't discouraged when the Saints selected Rattler just 1 year after taking him in the round. Well, the reality is the Saints took 2 quarterbacks, in back-to-back years. I don't know if that's a thing that we've ever done that before, come to think about it. Y'all in the Great Saint Think Tank, y'all remind me and let me know if you guys have ever seen that before. Have the Saints in memory outside of this year taking 2 quarterbacks in back-to-back drafts? Y'all let me know, because I don't remember such. Maybe I have to go back a little further in my recollection here. But Haener said he wasn't discouraged by that. I'm going to be as prepared as I can be. Just because there's a little competition doesn't scare me. This is the NFL, and at the end of the day, if I want to accomplish my goals, I have to compete with a lot of different people. That's the right mentality. Competition is good. Competition is not a sin, like Rockefeller said. Only people that believe like that are monopoly people. And they have an inferior product, so they have to destroy everybody in the market so everybody buy that one thing from them. Competition is good. It's good for you. It's good for me. It's good for everybody. Haener is the only quarterback who has yet to throw an interception during the portion of OTAs open to the public. And starting quarterback Derek Carr threw his first interception on open portion Wednesday after the pass was batted at the line, then tipped into the hands of Demario Davis. Haener's rookie season was derailed after he was suspended for the first 6 games for violating the NFL performance enhancing drug policy. He said that he came into this year with a new sense of confidence, partially due to the new revisions to the playbook. I forgot about that PED suspension. And quote, there's a lot on your plate as a rookie. There's new people, new system, new coaching, and you're in the NFL now, Hainer. See, I feel like this system helps us to see things a little clearer. I guess the terminology. It's not what Drew did when it was taught to Drew in 09. It wasn't even 10 years old yet. It made sense to Drew, but it might not make sense to Jake Haener in 2024, 15 years later. I think now it's just more like things make sense. There's a rhyme or reason to things, and you can learn things faster and quicker. So I feel really confident going through the huddle, which is good, because really the point will come down to, and I asked this question to a lot of people before, it's like you got, Derek Carr is going to make the team, and Spencer Rattler's going to make the team. The Saints will not release Spencer Rattler. He'll be picked up off of the waiver wire. So we know they're not going to draft him and then release him. So that's 2 quarterbacks. So in my mind, after kind of rationalizing that, like, who do you think? Well, you're going to have Derek Carr and you're going to have Spencer Rattler. Who is it the other guy going to be? If Jake Haener stays on code and keeps doing what he's doing, looking sharp and crisp, it could be Jake Haener. But really, it's a battle between Jake Haener and Nate Peterman. So that's the thing. Peterman is the veteran, senior of the backups, and even though he didn't look too much like anything over these OTA periods, but things could rapidly change as you get into the Saints mini camp and then ultimately into the big camp. Things change because these guys are going to get more reps to see what they can do. So in my mind, it's really because Derek makes the team, Spencer makes the team, and it's a battle between Rattler and Nate Peterman for the other job. That's how I see it. So, we'll see how it all goes, right now, but it's positive right now for Jake Haener. All right, like I said, Spencer Rattler is very interesting. More participation with the cornerbacks expected in the minicamp. We already talked about Alvin Kamara and Marshawn Lattimore will be in attendance for this. Alvin has a family. Marshawn Lattimore probably spending time with his family. But Lattimore is a very positive thing that Lattimore is there in the secondary because we need him to compete, especially in the secondary. So, next year, a lot of things are going to change. I know that. But for this year, right now, having that secondary together, Tyrann Mathieu, Jordan Howden, and others, and our cornerbacks, we have a very solid group of cornerbacks and a very special secondary. And the defense as a whole, if healthy, man, it can be something spectacular, man. If healthy, that's the thing. Neither has been in attendance during the OTAs this year, meaning Kamara and Lattimore. And he says Kamara and coaches said that Kamara was around the facility in the offseason. Lattimore was injured in week 10 of last season, has not been around the Saints facility this offseason. Saints defensive back, well, that's until today. And defensive backs coach Marcus Robinson said he wishes that Lattimore had been at the OTAs to get some work in on little details, but expects to see him next week. But we know Lattimore is a fast study. We know Marshawn Lattimore is a fast study. And it's not, and I'm not, I would prefer them to be there, but I respect if they don't, if it's voluntary. But he's a fast learner. That's what makes him a solid player and a pro. So whatever he needs to pick up, he'll pick it up and keep it pushing. That's what they pick. That's why they pay him the big bucks. He's a shutdown cornerback. Let's see what he can do. You see what I'm saying? And I've only had 1 year with Lattimore. Obviously, he's extremely talented. Obviously, I wish he was here. This was what Coach Robinson said on Wednesday. I do think there was some things he could do better, but from an athletic perspective, he's extremely talented. Now, if he could put that together, we have some technique, a little bit of more knowledge of the game as far as he says, of the game, and as far as how he's being attacked, I think he'll be exceptional. I mean, because he's a phenomenal corner in this league, so you can't take that away from him, but I do think he's missing out on an opportunity to get better as of right now. He could have been working on some game off to his own, because some players do that in the off season. There, that old saying about there's no off season for football players. Some of the pros, that's how they get really good, in terms of their game getting ready. Alvin Kamara is always ready to play and always in phenomenal shape. Marshawn Lattimore and these other guys, they're professionals. They always are working in off season when they're healthy to get better, working on getting stronger, working on technique, stamina, everything that you need to work on to help you when the time comes. All right. So the Saints, He's also expect to work, get some work with Kool-Aid McKinstry into practice next week if he set out the first portion OTAs with a foot issue. And then he said, I'm itching to get out there with the guys and build that bond, that chemistry that's going to be very special to the secondary. That's what Kool-Aid said, but just control what I can. He says, what I control and what I can control right now is going hard in treatment and getting back to myself. So indeed, it is going to be a cool, like I said, seeing Laddie Daddy, seeing AK-41 out there, just going, just healthy and out there just doing their things is a big plus, because these some of the best players in the game, in my opinion, man. These are, some of the best Saint players that you have. So you need these guys to contribute this upcoming season to have that success that we really want them to see, because we really want them to break this 3-game playoff slide, not 3-game, but 3-season playoff slide, rather. Questions in the trenches won't be answered anytime soon. Offensive lineman Trevor Penning said moving from left tackle to right tackles feels like a, quote, fresh start, end quote, after he was benched last year. Rookie first-round pick Tulisi Fuaga is learning to play on the left side. So he's, after playing right side throughout all the college. How those players will handle these new positions likely won't be answered until the pads come on during training camp. And it's one of many questions for an offensive line that no longer has swing players like James Hurst, who is retired, and now Raiders lineman Andrews Pete. There's also been no sign of right tackle Ryan Ramczyk, which is somebody that we need to keep an eye out on, right? Ryan Ramczyk is a guy we need to keep an eye out on because he's a wild card. Even though Ramczyk is battling what could be a career-threatening knee injury and isn't expected to participate in the minicamp. So, like I said about Ram, it's unfortunate, but this is something that's been plaguing Ramczyk since he, for years now. It happened right after he signed that big time contract. He had an issue, and it's been plaguing him over the last years. And the Saints kind of they kept it tamped down up until last year when he kept getting rest days. Like, what's going on? And then it began to leak out that he had this knee issue. I knew it was bad. I just didn't realize, back then that it was career threatening. And if it's career threatening, you need major knee surgery, which he has to step away from the game of football. He has to get the surgery, then rehab, learn how to walk all over again and all this kind of stuff. And maybe he's saying, he can deal with the pain and all that. But man, listen, I wouldn't do that, bro. It's just a game when you going up against life, dude. That's just my thinking on it. And of course, new free agent addition, Ali Udoh, could be one of those swing players, although he has yet to fully participate in open practices. And that's a player that we want to get a good look at, because when they signed Ali Udoh in free agency, he was the first offensive lineman veteran they picked up in free agency. The idea of Ali Udoh wasn't to be a starter. He was listed as possibly being a swing lineman, the 6th lineman. That's how they seen or viewed Ali Udoh. But it depends on how right now you got Nick Saldiveri operating at the guard position. Does Nick Saldiveri hold that guard spot? That is still very much open to see how that guard position, because we talk about all the 2 tackles, but the other guard position with Nick Saldiveri, then you'll have Ali Udoh competing with him. Perhaps Lucas, the veteran offensive lineman, will be competing there as well. So if Nick Saldiveri can hold that starting position, then that'll allow Ali Udoh to be the swing player that Saints visualized him when they signed him. All right. But this is what they said. I think he has flexibility to play both tackle and guard. I've seen him play guard. I think he'll be a very good guard. I wouldn't put no Ali Udoh at tackle. I wouldn't do that. He's just not fleet of foot. He'll get cooked out there, but that's how they see it. And I think we're going to look at it. Okay, we are at what he says, where are we at on offensive line, and where can he best help us in the situation? Is kind of worded funny. I don't think we have made any decisions in terms exactly where we're going to be playing. I think we're going to end up getting the best 5 out there, and that's where we're going to do, according to Dennis Allen, who could confuse anybody, just confuse me. But anyway, the reality is like the best 5, and we talked about that. And I know even though Dennis Allen is talking offensive game, that's all controlled by Clint Kubiak. He has the keys to the bus, offensively speaking. So if he feels like, and John Benton, which we played here before, it says that he feels like the Saints have the right people in place to operate the type of system that he wants to put in, which is big, physical, mean offensive linemen who can move. And you can't take that away from, Fuaga can move. Penning could move. We know Cesar Ruiz, Eric McCoy. We know those guys can move. We remember Nick Saldiveri in college having a good ability to move around, who was pretty versatile and not a bad lineman as well. Those guys are young, and that would be a good look for the Saints too, that you have all draft picks across the starting lineup for the Saints, right? You got Cesar, he's a first-round pick. McCoy is a second-round pick. The 2 first-round draft pick tackles, and then, of course, the left guard would be Saldiveri was picked in the 4th round, so there'd be all Saints draft picks that are there. I don't know if it'll maintain that, but that would be very cool to see that. All right, there's just many questions on the defensive line as well as we transition there. I think the Saints looking as well, like as we move forward in the mini camp, we won't see all of this right now, but see more of the offensive line, them working with the offensive line, see how far we can see if these guys progress over the next few days, and then what does it look like from a backup standpoint? How do these backup guys look as well, kind of moving forward? Like I said, these guys are just in helmets and shorts. It's no pads, none of that till later on. Anyway, transitioning to the defensive side, there's just many questions on the defensive line after rotational pass rusher Passanio injured his Achilles and is out for a large portion of the season at minimum. Free agent addition Chase Young isn't expected to participate in mini camp practice while rehabbing from off-season neck surgery. So those are 2 people that we know are not going to be there. And according to what Dennis Allen said, he's been here every day. He's in the meetings. We're out here in practice. He's doing his rehab, talking about Chase Young. I see a guy that's highly motivated to have a great year. I think to this point, he's been on track in terms of the healing process and is a crazy X factor here for the Saints. The Chase Young X factor, huge for the Saints this year. Huge. Is it a gamble? But the contract helps the Saints out because it kind of lends to that. But my goodness, 1 year prove-it deal for Chase Young, opposite of Carl Granderson. The last time we had a speedy combination like that, in my mind, I want to go back to Cam Jordan and Junior Gillette. That's when I want to go back to, like, if you have guys when Cam was in his prime, and then you have Junior Gillette cutting up on the opposite side, or, maybe Cam and Trey Hendrickson when Trey balled that year, even though I probably would go with Cam and Junior. That probably would be that. But can that be? We know Carl Granderson is a beast from that side. Look like he's got stronger, getting ready for the full season. And, of course, you got Chase Young on the opposite side. Chase Young healthy for the Saints, pass rushing from the opposite end with Cam coming off the bench as a reserve, keeping him fresh, and occasionally them kicking him inside. Man, that's going to be crazy for the Saints from a defensive line standpoint. And, of course, they talk about Saints will likely need young players such as Peyton Turner and Isaiah Foskey, the Snowman, to realize their potential in order to have a successful pass rush this year. And even though, like, the Saints are kind of hedging their bets because you can never have too many pass rushers, they're literally representing that saying right now with all of the pass rushers we have. We don't just have a bunch of backups. Carl Granderson earned his way. He was an undrafted guy who earned his way to a starting job in a big contract. Chase Young, you know who he is in terms of being drafted high in the NFL, and he's here now. You got Cam there, and Cam is not what he used to be, but still could be a force for you because Cam is mentioned it. Don't sleep on Cam either, because Cam was talking in the offseason, which we're currently early in offseason, about losing weight. And people are complimenting Cam on how small he looks in terms of his weight. He lost a lot of weight to kind of help him become more streamlined and faster, kind of getting back to his earlier days, in terms of dropping the weight and still moving. So can Cam be setting himself up for something positive with this? And, of course, we know The neck surgery with Chase Young is something to watch out for. Cam's foot issue, rehabbing from that, even though he says he's doing good. And then former first-round draft pick Peyton Turner and second-round draft pick Isaiah Foskey, those guys sit behind the aforementioned guys. So the Saints, if injuries hit the Saints, man, they do have a lot of talented players that could perhaps step up and kind of hold the ship down until the starters get back to business. So anyway, the Saints had 34 sacks as a team. Cam Jordan, who will be 35 in July next month, finished with just 2 sacks. Carl Granderson led the team with 8.5 sacks and said he can't wait to see Young get back on the field. Young and Carl Granderson on the field at the same time, a healthy Chase Young, a healthy, with Carl, and Carl's always been healthy. With having those guys there, man, let me tell you, you're not going to be doing all this stuff where quarterbacks like to run around the edge and you see Cam trying to chase him down and can't get to him, right? Man, Carl Granderson is going to get to you. Chase Young's going to be able to get to you. So like I said, man, that adds some speed there. And then based upon what happened at the linebacker position, another battle to watch out for would be the Willie Gay versus Pete Werner battle for the second linebacker position next to Demario Davis. All this stuff has major league impact for the Saints defense, especially at the ends, having all of what I said. And then, of course, at the next level with the linebackers, Willie Gay, who's older, more experienced, and looking for an opportunity on a 1-year prove-it deal to say, listen, I can play this. Willie Gay, if he beats out Pete Werner, and it won't be easy, but if he beats out Pete Werner for the other linebacker position next to Demario Davis, that brings a whole new speed component back to the Saint linebacker core that we hadn't seen since Quan Alexander was doing. So it's going to be a very interesting season. Plus the splendid secondary we have unmasked, the speed of what could potentially be Willie Gay, healthy Chase Young, a healthy Peyton Turner, a healthy Cam Jordan. That's a lot of health that we need to kind of keep this thing going. But that depth stuff is pretty good. So anyway, that's some of it and talk about. And of course, when we talk about the lines and all that, we have a young offensive line, and a lot of stuff we talking about too is the Saints interior defensive line. How does that look in terms of us needing to stop the run and put pressure on people? How do you guys feel about that situation? Let me get my unofficial depth chart up here right quick so the family members can see when we start talking about it, because we talk about the end positions. But the interior defensive line is something that also needs to improve. Now, we're talking about Kalen Saunders. We're talking about Big Nate Shepard. We're talking about Brian Bursey. Can Brian Bursey have that jump that we think he should have? He's also a former first-round draft pick guy that really balled out for the Saints last year. Can Brian Bursey take the jump to starter this year? That would tell a lot, too, because I think Nate Shepard should be a guy that should be he'll be better at a reserve, a revolving or role playing defensive tackle position. Because we was talking about Passanio. Listen, fam, that's a nice size blow for the Saints defense, because Passanio had the potential to play defensive end for you because he gave you that. He wasn't bad at the end position. He's tough to block. He's 6'7", and he's not a sloppy 6'7", 300-pounder. He's streamlined, he's big, and he knows how to play. He's difficult to block. But you had the ability to play him outside, and then if you needed to, you can kick passing your inside. Well, he's not there. So somebody is going to have to step up and help out there. Like, you can rely on passing you. So somebody's going to have to elevate their game from a defensive interior lineman position. Brian Bursey, in his second year, we know that these guys struggled in the sophomore years. Is this was going to happen to Brian Bursey? We know that they deal with issues in the second year. We've seen it with Paulson Adebo. We've seen it with Alante Taylor. To a degree, we've seen it with Chris Olave with what was going on and all this kind of stuff. But in the second years, there's usually some struggling. Not all players go through this, but a great deal of them do go through that little sophomore situation. So we have to watch out for that. But Christian Boyd's a guy, they brought him as a rookie. Really excited about him. They had brought in Kendall Vickers, who's been getting a lot of reps. And Jack Heflin's another guy who really kind of stepped up and showed some stuff in last training camp. And Jack Heflin, who's a football player, can he step up and kind of press forward because these guys will have an opportunity to kind of see if they can fill the shoes of it, or perhaps the Saints might decide to say, you know what, we need some help there as we get ready for training camp. Let's see what veterans are out there so that we can utilize these vets and bring them in here and see if they can help us out. Can the Saints do that? Because they can most certainly go to the cheap defensive interior man route. They could. Let me see if I can put the cap situation up on screen, because right now, as it's showing, according to Over the Cap, this is where the Saints are right now in terms of their salary cap. 5.4 plus mil is what's popping right now for the black and gold that they have. And this is right now numbers according to Over the Cap. But anyway, like I said, man, it'll be interesting to see just how well the black and gold in terms of how and where our guys will be as we move into the Saints minicamp. That's a few things I think we want to kind of look at in terms of the offensive line, and then we can look at all this other stuff in terms of the wide receivers and whether or not what'll be going on there, because a lot of people think that Cedric Wilson might have an opportunity there to be able to be that guy. It said Wilson, the dude, in the wide receiver room. We'll find all that out as we get going, but Saints minicamp opening up. These are just a few of the things. Not only that'll be setting the tempo this Saints minicamp, but also the big camp later on in the month. This stuff, some of these battles are definitely just sneak previews as we get ready for the big camp where it all counts, baby. All of it does count, but that's when we'll get a more complete look at what will happen. And I definitely think the Saints are going to add some people in terms of maybe a few people here or there to the big camp later on in the month. So there you go. All right. So that's just a little stuff to kind of talk about right there. All right. So big ups to the fam, man. Appreciate y'all being in the building. Like I said, if you guys have a question, please drop it in the chat, man. Put Q at the front of it so I can see what you guys are in this thing. All right. Anyway, shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all. Big ups to you, man, as well. Black Major, I see you, fam. Appreciate you, brother Terrence, in this thing. My boy Randolph from Keeping It Real podcast. Shout out to you, my dog. Appreciate you for being in the building. OG Jarrett is in this thing as well. Big ups to you guys. I see you, man. Hemisphere, shout out to you. Says, can the Saints D-line cause enough pressure to support the secondary? If so, this defense can be a top 10 defense this year. Indeed. And that's a good question, because that's what it's all about, right? The pressure. Carl Granderson, 8.5 sacks last year. Chase Young comes. He's rehabbing from neck surgery. That's not a small feat. I don't know what the timeline is on it. We did a show about that. I don't know what the Saints timeline is, but when you have neck surgery, right? Neck surgery that usually ties to your spine, not your spine, but to your spine and all that kind of stuff up there. And that's all delicate stuff. So I don't know if you want to rush them out there, and maybe later on into training camp and into preseason, we'll get more of a timeline. But like I said, I wouldn't be anticipating seeing him right away. I think, like, originally when they talked about this, they said that he'd be ready for the big camp. I don't know. I really don't know. And truth be said is that the Saints have a lot of depth there, and to so they can take more of a patient approach with Chase Young. You see what I'm saying? Because that would be my take. When you have neck surgery like that, I'd be like, let me kind of take more of a patient approach with you, because it ain't like we hurry up and get healthy so we could throw you out there. Now we should be all right in the interim until Chase Young gets there. But when you have a healthy Cam, Carroll on the other side, Peyton Turner and Isaiah Foskey, we should be able to get enough sacks and be able to get some pressure on these guys. And then, of course, we talk about inside pressure. Colin Saunders, Brian Bursey, these type of guys. How could Christian Boyd, he's another guy that's known to be one of these pressure guys. So the Saints have big guys on the inside that are good at pushing the pocket internally inside the pocket. So that's a positive. So it's not just in pressure, it's also inside pressure, or outside pressure, defensive ends causing pressure from outside, but it's also the inner push of a Colin Saunders and Nate Shepard and a Brian Bursey that should cause some things to happen. But in the end, depending on where The pressure too is the linebackers. If it's going to be Willie Gay or not, it depends, man, on a lot. But yeah, I think that I personally believe that they can be able to cause enough pressure if healthy. That's a big part of it. Like I said, Cam has lost some weight there, so he can make him a little bit faster. So we'll see how it all looks, man. But yes, indeed, man, we should be all right. All right, Brother Randolph says, Hayner, great offseason QB. Now he must continue his offseason success into camp. Indeed, bro. Absolutely. Big ups to you. All right, Mr. Barnes says Howden is an elite safety. All right, Mr. Barnes, shout out to you. I don't know if he's elite, but I do like Jordan Howden. He showed a lot last year. And remember, he flashed in preseason too. Like when they drafted Jordan Howden, and I was like, man, they took a safety right there. And then I was thinking to myself, you know what? The Saints, they're going to need some safety because Tyrann Mathieu's getting up there. And sooner or later, you're going to need somebody to replace him. And a lot of the safeties that we were bringing in was safeties on 1-year deals. None of those guys had the potential to be a long-range option there. Jordan Howden out of Minnesota, if you go and watch the footage on it, man, he was phenomenal at Minnesota. It was a terrific pick by Dennis Allen and the Brass. They did a really good job in spotting Howden and then plugging him into the Saints defense. And he came in as a rookie, and then he played so well. The Saints said, man, let's just put Marcus May in the street. The hell with Marcus May. He missed half the games anyway. Let's put and Howden helped push May out the door. And he's a solid player, and he's coming into it once again in his second year. And I know in his sophomore years, man, we have to remember in sophomore years, these guys tend to look a little different. Sometimes the games, they struggle in that second year. Remember these second year players, because sometimes people be tearing them players up, man. Be tearing them up. Man, that dude, he was garbage. Nah, man, in the second year, fam. We got to remember. Richard says, I'm looking forward to seeing the line. And me too. The linebackers, that's a big competition, bro. Because if you take a look at, let me put the depth chart, unofficial depth chart on the linebackers. The Willie Gay versus Pete Werner battle is going to be big. Like I said, it's only it's 3 linebacker starting spots if you operate the 4-3, but we know the Saints spend the majority of the time in a 2 linebacker look, which means Willie Gay it's going to be a battle between Willie Gay and Pete Werner for the opposite spot next to Demario Davis. Like I said, Willie Gay been in the league longer than Pete, but Pete knows that system. But the Saints have, when they find a trend, they stick with it, like the Ohio State trend. The Saints love picking Ohio State players. One thing they like to do is pick up former Kansas City players as well, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Hell, they picked up Colin Saunders. They picked up Willie Gay. They picked up Tyrann Mathieu. They just love getting these former 49er guys. And I think, wasn't your guy that was here last year? What was his name? He went on to the Texans. I forgot him. I think he played with the Chiefs too. They love picking up these former Chief players, especially on the defensive side. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see just not only him, but there's also guys that's backing these guys up that we want to see what they can do. Nephi Sewell looked solid for the Saints last year. They picked him up. DeMarco Jackson, how does DeMarco Jackson look? Guys like Jalen Ford, the linebacker, want to see what he can do. Kaliki Hudson is another dude. Monty Rice is another dude. The Saints got a good staff of linebackers, and then you'll see the backup linebacker battle as well play out. So it'll be interesting to see how that looks too. So yeah, the linebackers are going to be pretty good. Shout out to Farouk, B Jizzle. Good to see y'all in the chat, man. Big ups to y'all as well. All right, Hemisphere. Another question is, will the Saints run a 4-3 front? They could. But I don't, like I say, I had to ball it down at 100% of the times that I personally watched the Saints all the time play these games, man. And very rarely you'll see them in any other system except for the 2 linebacker look, the modified nickel situation. Very rarely. It's like 98%, like 90. It's high rank. That's like 96 to 97% of the time they're in the modified look, and if any other look that they did show was like the 43, but you don't see that look often, so that's why I was saying wherever it is, it's gotta be in the building. What's up, Tuck? Shout out to you. That's all right, man. That's what rewind buttons are for, Iro says, Alante, Taylor pass. It was his first year. Exactly. And I was telling people about that as well, man. When they were throwing him out there, these people on WWL was talking crap about him. Oh, he ain't look like nothing. Man, that was his second year, man. It did the same stuff, man. I remember what these people say. I remember a lot of this stuff because I had to sit up here and counteract it. They said the same thing about Paulson Adebo and then pretend like they didn't say that. Well, Paulson Adebo was a solid cornerback. And then the year before they was tearing him up. It's amazing how these people, you'd be thinking you don't remember. I remember they was hammering out Paulson Adebo. Now Paulson Adebo, the future of the Saints. You was just saying last year the year before last, that he wasn't getting, and the Saints might need to look at somebody else. Man, come on, man. These people be tripping me out. When it's second year, fam. That's something we got to remember. In the second year, right? It's not you, Ro. It's just other people, like stuff that I heard people send to me about players, and I hear it. I was like, man, who are these people, man? If you're going to commentate, man, you got to remember how things go. For whatever reason, that's how it is. Not everybody, but a great majority of players in the NFL and other professional sports in that second year, from the first to the second year, they have some difficulties transitioning between. That's a transition year, and they have some difficulty in that year going to the third year. But if they handle it like a Paulson Adebo did, they're going to be fine. I think I said the same thing about Alontae Taylor. And how do you know? Because Alontae Taylor is an intelligent player that's under control. He'll make it just like Paulson did, because Paulson Adebo is another dude that's intelligent and a very stable personality. You'll make it. You just have to endure that fire and you'll get better. That's how it works. And they'll be fine. All right. Shout out to Slim. He says, Q, can Willie Gay have the potential to take Werner's spot outside? Yes, he can, bro. Absolutely. I would caution the Who-Dats to, pay very close attention to that. I know a lot of people are going to watch the QB battle. I want to see Spencer Rattler and all that kind of stuff. And I know QBs bring attention. But really the biggest battle that you want to watch is going to be the linebacker battle. It'll be between Willie Gay and Pete Werner, because when they first brought him here, my thought process, okay, they bring Willie Gay in here. But is he a future prospect? Like, nah, Willie Gay is like 31, I want to say. Is he 30? He's in his early 30s. I'm like, on a 1-year deal. Listen, I thought the Saints would leave Pete Werner alone, but they felt like, hey, man, we need speed at that position. Maybe that was Michael Hodges saying, man, we need to pick it up here. We need a linebacker, such and such. They've been watching the guy. The guy is lightning in track shoes. He's super fast. He's smart. He got a really good personality about him. Like, he's exciting. He gets excited and all this kind of stuff. So, man, Willie Gay is a serious threat to take Pete Werner's job. Oh yeah, no doubt about it. To me, I think that is the battle that I would be keeping a close look at, because that has major implication. It has major implication because that guy pairs next to Demario Davis, and he changes the Saints defense. He really does. Willie Gay gets there. And remember, Demario is solid, but Demario Davis has lost a lot of his lateral speed. He's not the spry Demario that we've all known and loved for so long. As he gets older, he's losing a lot of that. If you remember some of these games, he doesn't have the closing speed he used to have. He does his best. So that's why the Saints, we can't have two guys, and Pete Werner's a solid linebacker, but we've known for a while that the athletic aspect of his game, we knew that coming out, that he wasn't a super quick athletic guy. He's a solid linebacker, but he just doesn't have that next level speed that you want to have, like you see Naquan Alexander or even a Preston Smith had. When Preston Smith was here, he exhibited that closing, that able to react and the speed to get there. And not only that, but to cover tight ends if you need him to. Willie Gay does that too. He has the speed to cover the tight ends. We struggle with that. We got a good tight end right there. He gonna tear you up. And we got to go against the Detroit Lions. Remember that tight end killed you, Laforta, whatever his name is, whatever it was. It must have been Spanish for knock the Saints upside their head, because that's what he did. The tight end for the Vikings And any athletic threat tight end gives the Saints problems. If Gay's there, man, that all stops. That's why I was saying that is a big position that we got to watch out. Great question, Slim. Thank you for that, man. Appreciate you. All right, Terrence says, I know it's early, but in what week do you think the offense will come together and stay consistent? That's very hard to tell, bro, because Brother Randolph asked me that when last year, and I was like, man, it usually takes like a month for you start seeing some success. We didn't see the Saints offense, and that was a very unique and weird year where we didn't see the Saints offense catch fire until well into the year, like the last month or so worth of games, and you've seen the Saints catch on. By that time, it was too late. You know, it usually take like a month for them to see what they got going on because you have the 4 games, then you have all the practices that's in between because you got your starters on both offense and the defense. You know who's supposed to do what, who's going to have this job, and you know what you need to do. So, and guys will have the preseason and the big camp, and then the preseason, and then you go into the season. You got a month worth of games, so you have a general idea of what's going on. But when we talk about, catching on offensively, usually that's aimed at the quarterback. I'm hoping that the Saints do not put all of that on Derek Carr. I'm hoping that the Saints use the best room that they have, which is the running back room. If you got Taysom and Elvin and Jamal and what's my guy? I forgot my guy's name from TCU as well. So you got all these guys here, man. What I'm talking about? I forgot his name, man. I'm thinking about somebody else. That's what it was. All right, yeah. Kendre. I forgot Kendre. But you got Kendre in there. Man, that's a phenomenal room. Think about that room. Elvin, Jamal, Taysom, Kendre Miller. That's fantastic. And then you have the ability, if you want to use plays where you use Rashid Shaheed and packages with sweeps and reverses or hand the ball off to him in certain areas and he hit it and go. So, I mean, the Saints have application there, but I will rely on that at first. And then, because that's when Carr really looked comfortable when he was operating the play action last year, when it wasn't all on his shoulders to perform. You need to use your best room offensively speaking to be able to help you get that. But that also means the Saints have to be on code when it comes down to running the ball. So we need the offense to step up and do what they need to do. But yeah, these are the acquisitions of both Willie Gay and yeah, that's what I'm saying. These guys, if they're, if Willie Gay starts, that's an impact. If Chase Young is healthy next to Carl Granderson, y'all have to understand what that looks like, because even though a lot of people downplay Chase Young, when Chase Young is healthy, he makes an impact. And then the thing is, he's not even the lead defensive end. That's Carl Granderson. So he's complimenting Carl. Then you have Cam that'll be circulating in there. And the idea is to keep guys fresh. So the pressure is always there. We're not going to wear out the ends. You take these guys out, put the next guy in, and then you have unrelentless and endless pressure from the Saints ends. If done right, we keep everybody fresh. That helps out big time. Tuck says Q is the wide receiver group where it needs to be a room for improvement. That's a good question. Oh man, if you look at if we look at the Saints wide receiver room, the top 3 or 4 guys are solid, and then there's a lot of question marks there. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, we know about them. A.T. Perry is really, don't think for a second A.T. Perry just gonna let people come in here and just dislodge him from having an opportunity. I know they bring Cedric Wilson in as a veteran to kind of help out, but my man, we can't look past what A.T. Perry. If A.T. Perry head is on straight and he wants to do, he got the size. He's not just a big guy with size, but A.T. Perry could run too. So if he's on point, man, A.T. Perry along with Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, that could be a very good trio of wide receivers for us. But like I said, Cedric Wilson is going to come in here and make a name for himself. Bub Means is another dude that the Saints drafted that'll make a name for himself as well. So we do have some interesting people there, and they did bring in St. Brown and to add another veteran to the room. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints kind of stepped in there and decided to do something else. I ain't tripping on that, but I wouldn't be mad at another vet wide receiver coming in there. Why not? They got some out there available. Sean says, Q, what's up, Sean? Says, Q, given the potential of the new offense, what is the ceiling of this team if the old clicks? The ceiling for this team, fam, could be a top 5. This could be a top 5 offense, and I've said that before. We have the people. We have the people. In terms of the players, Alvin Kamara could do every bit, and that's why I was getting excited when I was talking to y'all about the numbers, because y'all remember. Put one in the chat if y'all remember the show when I pulled up the numbers from the 49ers, because people was talking about the 49ers offense, and I actually put the numbers on screen about the 49ers and the statistics that their players were turning out to have that kind of production. And what it showed was, and I was looking at, order to run that type of system, you got to have the players. And I'm talking skilled players that you could be relied on at times when the game is close or whatever you need somebody to implement a play. You got to have phenomenal players. We have those players. Alvin Kamara could do every bit of what Christian McCaffrey doing, could even do it better. We just have to be able to put the right offense in play, operate on code offensively. And I can see Alvin Kamara having the biggest year that he's ever had as a Saint. I can see that happening if this system is ran close to what they did last year with San Fran. I can see him having that, because that type of system is exactly what Alvin Kamara needs to go. You play him all over the place. You can rely on him here. And then not to mention you add Taysom Hill as a running back. Could y'all imagine? We talk about Alvin having a complement, which is Jamal Williams. They gave him the money. But could you imagine what Taysom Hill brings if they pairing Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill there? Could you imagine that? And then you keep Taysom and Alvin on the field and bring in Kendre Miller to run, or Jamal to run, and them guys. You see what I'm saying? Man, they have all kind of ways. We have the players to do every bit of what the 49ers did. When you send Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, those guys, the numbers that they put up with the 49ers last year, they can do every bit of that. And Kittle didn't have a big year with the 49ers last year, and they still went up there. So, I mean, we have the players to be able to perform a top 5 offense in the game. I'm going to say top 5. I ain't going to go beyond myself and say a top 1. That'd be, but I'm just going to say a top 5 offense. They have the players. They just have to have the scheme and on code to do it. All right. Thank you for the question. Will says, Q, he says, question, who has more total yards this season? AK-41 total yards this year. I'm gonna have to go with I'm gonna go with Alvin Kamara on this one. I got to go with AK-41. Will, I got to go with AK-41 total yards. That means running and you're talking about running and passing, stuff like that. I mean, not passing, but running and catching. Well, we know Olave is mostly used there, but a lot of people anticipate Chris Olave to have a 1,000-yard receiving yard campaign with 70+ catches. Like they saying he wants to get to like 80 catches this year. And like I said, man, I think that with AK-41, I think the system is set up like we seen from McCaffrey. I think, because this is the thing. Christian McCaffrey had over 1,400 yards rushing last year. 1,400 yards rushing for the 49ers last year, and like 14 rushing touchdowns. That's what McCaffrey had last year. 1,400 plus yards, 14 rushing touchdowns. And then if you turn on the passing, the catching rather, he caught 67, I want to say, catches, and he had like 6 or 7. I want to say how many? 6 or 7 touchdown catches. So he had like 60 catches. He was like second on the team in catches. He was the top rusher with over 1,400 yards rushing, double-digit touchdowns, and then he was the second receiver. And he had 67 catches and like 7 or 8 touchdowns, receiving touchdowns. He had a massive year for the 49ers. I could see Alvin Kamara doing every bit of that. I really could. So I'm going to have to go with AK-41 on that one. I think this is Kamara's year, to be honest with you, fam. I'm going to be honest. I'm about to say Amish. Be honest with you. I'm going to be an honest Amish. on you with that one, man. You know, and let you know. What's up, Cartel? Shout out to you. Poppy says, Q, do you think with all the addictions we can be good on with the addictions? Oh, you mean the addictions? Uh-oh, hold on now. Hold on now. Oh, hold on now. Hold on. Hold on now. Hold on. We better not have none of that going on now. Let me tell you something. We can't have none of that. Now, I get what I'm just messing with you. The additions, we can be good on both offense and defense. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it all comes down to operating on code, the guys' attention to details, and just recognizing what we got to do and taking care of business. Making sure you correct guys that's not doing what they're supposed to do, and just handling business. And then, of course, we might have some luck to go along with it in terms of guys staying healthy. But outside that, no doubt about it, man. Shout out to you. Appreciate you, man. All right, big ups. All right. I said, do you think we'd be good on offense? Yeah, I think so, man. I think we can be really good. The offense, man, we'll see, man. Like I said, I've said a lot about, okay, 26. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Black Mage, talking about Willie Gay. All right, thank you, bro. Appreciate that. All right, says, do you think we'd be great on? Yeah, I'll answer that one. Yeah, absolutely. Saints, and we've said this before, the Saints are not a garbage team. They're not a trash team. They're not a bottom feeding team. We just look like that over the last couple of years. That's why the pressure is high. Like a lot of people, maybe they're not aware of it, but that's why, I've tried to keep people aware about the fact that when Dennis Allen took over the team, the Saints were, they missed the playoffs under Sean Payton. There was some angst going on there, how they failed. When he took over the team, he took over a loaded team that was actually, from a personnel standpoint, nothing else, not statistics, none of that. But remember that first year you added some really good talent to upgrade, because they were supposedly fixing the mistakes of the team that failed Sean Payton's last team. But it went backwards, 7 wins. Last year they went 9 wins. And it was, according to their idea, we got better from a personnel standpoint, adding players, right? Now, you don't need Derek Carr to be a all-star or a pro bowl quarterback to have success. You just need him to do his job. And doing his job is like what he had 38, whatever it was, he threw this year, those type of statistics. We just need Derek Carr. We just need Derek Carr to take care of the football and keep the offense on time, and everything will take care of itself. Make the proper throws when you're supposed to, hand the ball off, and just keep the offense on time. That's what we need, because really, like I said, the strength of the Saints, offensively speaking, is the running game. The Saints have to rely on the running game. You got a player as special as an Alvin Kamara, who can give you everything Christian McCaffrey gave the 49ers, you do it. When you got Taysom Hill, and I've said this before, Taysom Hill was operating as a quarterback who didn't throw the ball much. He had like 11 attempts all year long. All them reps, you seen him back there as a quarterback. He threw the ball, 11 times the whole year, and because he was a runner. And despite the fact that he was back there the majority of his time by himself as a scrambling quarterback, and the defenses knew that he was going to scramble because they knew he wasn't going to throw it. And he still averaged 5 yards a carry, and they knew he was going to run at him. And he still gave him 5 yards. That, to me, is just unbelievable. And Taysom Hill is arguably one of the 5 fastest Saints on the team. If you're a defender, you don't want to see Taysom Hill running downhill with a head full of speed, and it don't take him that long to get there. So if you got a lane that you open up for Taysom, he gets the ball and he takes off, man, if you're a defender and you at the third level of the defense, you don't want to see Taysom Hill. So imagine a team where you hitting them with Elvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, Kendre Miller, Jamal Williams. That is crazy. And I know you probably not going to use all those backs, but you can if you have the imagination, because some of them guys, you can move them to other positions on the field and still use a Jamal or a Kendre in the running a game and decoy those guys. Imagine if plays where you can have Taysom and Elvin lined up and they're not running backs, they're just out there like wide receivers, and defenses are looking saying, man, what the hell are they doing over there? What are them two doing over there? And then all of a sudden they're playing, you decoying. They don't get the ball. You're just using them as a decoy, and then you get a ball to Kendre Miller or Jamal Williams. I mean, you have players that are so talented that you can use them in different ways. Some of those guys, like I said, you won't give them a break every now and again, but some of them guys, you won't keep them there because they match up nightmares. Who's gonna match up with a Taysom Hill? He's faster than most of these cornerbacks. He can be guarded by most of these linebackers. Same with Alvin Kamara. So if you're blocking for him and the scheme fits, man, it's unbelievable what they could do. So, I mean, like I said, it all is based on the fact, it's all based on if the offense can stay on code, they can get the running attack going, you can get play action going, and then everything changes. So, like I said, like a lot of people not excited about Derek Carr. Derek Carr don't have to do a lot. Just keep the offense on, don't turn the ball over. Make the throws when you're supposed to, and turn around, hand the ball off to one of these guys, because that's what that's what we really need to do, man. All right, anyway, let me get a couple of more, then we're gonna get on up out of here, man, and do our thing. Pelicans Nola, shout out to you. All right, big ups to you. Tuck says, I remember Peyton last year, land of 1,000. yeah, Peyton. Very interesting him picking up Bo Nix, man. That's a very unique pickup for Sean Payton. Never seen Coach Payton take a rookie quarterback and make him anything. But if he's going to do it, it is good to do it with a guy that spent all his available time, that every moment he could in college being a quarterback. Bo Nix did. He spent every bit of time that he could possibly spend in college being a quarterback to be as ready as he can be for the pros. I mean, he took, and he's a good one. So I would love to see what's going on with Peyton, how that looks in Denver. All right, 504 Coach says, Q, you seen the Jason Peters rumor? You think that would be a good fit for a depth piece? Yeah, it depends on the contract. I wouldn't be mad at Jason Peters as a backup for the Saints, because we can use that. We can use a veteran backup like a defensive tackle if something goes funny with our guys. But I think that might happen if and when they find out that Ryan Ramczyk is not good to go, because they're still waiting on that. See, they have not written Ryan Ramczyk off. And if you see Jason Peters or a veteran of that ilk or a guy like that popping up, then you know what time it is. But they haven't written Ryan Ramczyk off yet. They're still in wait and see mode on Ryan Ramczyk. So we got to remember that. Thank you, 504 Cole. Oh, yeah, indeed, Slim. He trucked the hell out of you and then get up like a bunny rabbit. You remember he'd run over somebody and get up. He loves the contact, man. That gives it, he gets excited about that, man. All right, Brother Verlin. What's up, Verlin? How you doing? Sir says, Q, you were right in saying AK and McCaffrey are similar. The separation is Kamara's stop and go ability. All right. He said, on top of AK style being a combination of Debo and McCaffrey, question is the offensive line play. How's the offensive line? That's what it all comes down to. And that's up to John Benton, the offensive line coach, who needs guys. And like I said about Penning and Fuaga, those guys, even though they're young, if you have you help young offensive linemen out by running the football, right? Most of these guys, first round draft pick guys, know how to run block. So when you kind of having a heavy runner running the ball, that helps give them confidence. But the way John Benton was explaining how plays are set up and how pursuit routes are cut off and how you're operating on angles and all this kind of stuff, we've had hell stopping the 49ers. That style of zone offense we've had hell stopping that. And because you got to keep your head on a swivel. They give you different motions left. They do double motions to kind of confuse you on what's going on. So it's hell to stop that offense. And by proxy, another thing people need to remember too is when you have Clint Kubiak's offense out there doing that, remember that the Saints defense will be watching what's going on. And that in itself can help the Saints when we go up against teams like the 49ers. Now, we don't see them next year unless we get to the playoffs, but this could be something that could be, this is an added benefit of practicing against this style of defense. You see all the motions. It's a complicated offense going back and forth. So you can imagine when you see more of a basic offense, what you need to do, because the Saints seen a lot of that. So at the end of the day, I think it's a benefit for the Saints defense to go against this offense. It really is. I mean, because it forces you to think in a good way. And I know not to the point where you just plotting and look, but you still have to operate with a certain amount of instincts as well. Yeah, but absolutely, Burl, and I agree wholeheartedly on with this question here about AK-41, man. AK-41, like I've been saying, fam, if this stuff functions like it's supposed to be, AK-41 could have a major year. This will probably be one of the biggest years that you've seen, and it couldn't come at more of an opportunistic time in terms of his contract situation and all of that, right? To have a major year like this could be a big year. This is and I'm going to say it. I think Alvin Kamara is going to have a huge year for the black and gold if he remains healthy. All right. So Key says Saints 49ers very similar. Only thing having Trent Williams, they're structured very different. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, they have the big veteran guys up there. We have our young guys here. So we'll just have to see how that ends. Terrence says, what's up, brother? Terrence says Kamara is 671 yards away from being the Saints all-time leading rusher. He will get that this year. Indeed. I think he'll blow that out of the water, brother Terrence. I think he's going to catch the record and reset the record. How about that, man? AK-41 doing it big for the black and gold. All right, what's up, Bullet Family Travel Vlog? Shout out to you, brother. Jason says Rattler going to be better than Bo Nix. Yeah, I said it. There you go. Yeah, but see, Bo going to have the jump start because, of course, Peyton could possibly give Bo Nix, not give him the job, but Bo Nix earns the job. He don't have a hindrance like a Derek Carr in front of him for at least a year, maybe two, depending on how the Saints behave, how everything kicks together. Because we know that Carr still has 3 years left on his contract, and it's a big stropping ass contract too. It's like as he gets older, the contract escalates. It's a very bad contract. I don't know why the Saints did it like that. Usually, you'll have the big numbers at front, and then they'll kind of, they de-escalate with an older player. It's the opposite. I don't know why they did that. They couldn't afford the guy. Seems like a desperation move, if you ask me. All right, what's up, Lester? Shout out to you, man. Who that to you? All right, 504 says Q. I'm calling it now. Saints versus the Niners in the NFC Championship game. I'm all in. I can't help myself. I'm a who that. That's very real. It could happen, but like I said, man, Dennis Allen is a major key to this, and I'm not trying to throw cold water on nothing, but I have to remind family members that Dennis Allen is still our coach. And what that means is that for the team to improve, Dennis Allen has to improve as a head coach. Because even though we expect guys like Clint Kubiak and Andrew Janoko, the QB coach, and all these other guys to step up and be on code, Dennis Allen is still the head coach of the team. So he'll be doing that for the offense. Dennis Allen still has to keep everything together with everybody else. He has to learn to be a better head coach. It comes down to that. That's what because the teams, and like, look at some of these teams that's sitting up here. Like you talk about the 49ers with Kyle Shanahan and the Kansas City Chiefs with Andy Reid. You see, these guys are led by people that are very good at what they do. And I'm not saying Dennis Allen got to be like those guys. What I'm saying is Dennis Allen has to be the best version of himself. He has to realize his flaws as a coach, as a head coach, and he has to change these flaws. He has to learn, and I'm going to tell Dennis, like, what flaws? Your flaws is you adjust way too late. When you see stuff going on, you need to make the adjustment. You can't sit there and watch guys do what they're not, do things they're not supposed to do and not make them get on code. If guys are not doing what they're supposed to do and they're hurting the team, you got to pull them down and put somebody else there. You got to do that. And then on top of that, you got to keep your mouth shut about matters when it comes down to who did something wrong or what guy ran this wrong route says, listen, man, they both did what they wasn't supposed to do because the play didn't end up right. Just be neutral and don't take side. Don't take Derek Carr's side. I know it's a lot of stuff to say because this dude be wrecking his locker room and don't even realize what he doing. The Marshawn Lattimore thing happened because he created that. Dennis Allen created this stuff, man. People were frustrated because the team was underperforming because they didn't have accountability and attention to detail. You're not holding anybody accountable. You have to hold the quarterback accountable when he's out there doing things he's not supposed to do. And if he's staring down one side of the field, you know what staring down means. You got to get on him for that. You got to keep the same standard for everybody. You cannot allow that to happen. The guy be tearing up his locker room. And by all, if you're going to apologize for anything, apologize to the Who Dat Nation when you have funky losses. Don't sit up there and don't you ever open your mouth to apologize to the Atlanta Falcons or anybody else. If you want to apologize for losing or having losses or letting people down, go and apologize to the Who Dat Nation. Don't open your damn mouth and apologize to the Atlanta Falcons. That kind of stuff, people are like, what do you do? That kind of stuff is what he does. And there's other things, but he has to improve as a head coach. And I always ask these questions every year. How is Dennis Allen improving? Now, if you're changing up personalities and the offense, that's one thing, but you still have to improve as a head coach. What did you learn that made you a better head coach than what you didn't know from the previous year? What did you learn? And that's the stuff that I want to know, because that will be what is telling when football is actually being played and the games count for something. Right now, ain't nothing going on but some practicing, getting ready for the games, getting ready for when the time comes when the games do count. But that's not just Derek Carr getting better, or Elvin Kamara, or Chris Olave, or Rashid Shaheed, or Taysom Hill, or Cam Jordan, or Demario Davis, or Marshawn Lattimore, or Jordan Howden, or Paulson Adebo, or Alante Taylor, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jawan Johnson, Jamal Williams, Spencer Rattler. It's not just about players getting better at their craft. It's also the head coach. The head coach is not immune to getting to the get better philosophy. He's not. If anything, he needs to be on top of that totem pole in terms of getting better. You can't ask for players to get better if you're not getting better. You can't talk about progression if you're not leading the progress. And you're the head coach. You're the leader of the team. You have to get better as a coach. You can't be the same dude that you was in the last 2 years, because that don't count, because that's that lost. That guy didn't get anything done. He didn't get anything done. You have to be able to be better as a head coach. Do whatever you got to do. Read some books, go to some seminars, and I'm pretty sure they got this type of stuff all across the country. They got where Hall of Fame guys have these seminars where you go up in there, and they got stuff where they got the tight end camps. They got coaches camps where coaches can get crisper or get better on their game to learn, all this kind of stuff. They got all that. Start attending that shit. Excuse me. Start attending that, because the Saints will go as far as the head coach takes them. You can't win despite the coach. The coach has to guide the team to these wins. Now, he got 7 from 7 to 9. Does that mean you get to 10 or 11? We'll have to see. But I am definitely encouraged that he is using the verbiage that we've been bullhorning here for the last couple of years about the lack of attention to detail, and definitely the lack of accountability that we've seen fracture up the Saints, break them up into pieces. Even saying foolishness like there are no fractures in the locker room when you're preparing a contract, the same time you saying that, to make Marshawn Lattimore's contract easier for him to be traded. but there ain't no fractures going on. And people upset that the Saints are not being accountable. That happened last year. You can't magically throw a wine over and say, "Oh, hold on now, there were no fractures." That makes you look like a liar. That makes you look like a fool, because I knew what time it was to Who That Nation, because you could look at the team, how they were playing, to understand that they weren't playing together. You could see it. You can't fool me with how the team. I know what my team looked like. And I also know when teams come to play and when half the team come to play. I also know what that looked like, and so do you. So we knew what time it was. We knew the whole time. So stop pretending and fix what needs to be fixed when it rears up. If people are disgruntled, go talk to them and soothe it over. Don't sit here and let it go sour during this season when games account, and then address it in the offseason like you did Lattimore and Jameis Winston the last offseason. See, it's a pattern here. You got to switch that. You got to crack that up, break that all up. You got to stop doing that. So that's my take on it. The team will go as far as Dennis Allen. But like I said, I'm encouraged by him using accountability and attention to detail. He's been using those buzzwords the last several interviews, and I'm very encouraged by that, because if he puts that into his coaching regimen just by staying on guys, that'll help the team win. It will. You don't have to be perfect, but making sure you find out who's not doing what they're supposed to do and stand on them to make sure they do it. And just doing that, man, that keeps our team together, because it keeps everybody at the same line. So I am encouraged by that, and we've been bullhorning that, and that dude finally saying it. So better late than never. Better late than never. All right. Yeah, Tuck said I got to get y'all be good. Okay, thank you, Tuck. Shout out to you. What's up, brother Chemo? Good to see you, man. Appreciate you. All right, Tay, how you doing, man? Who that to you as well? Tuck also said before he left, my dream is that DA becomes D coordinator, leads the offense to QB. I don't think that's going to ever work, fam. What's up, brother Neville? I don't think that's ever going to work. I don't think you usually fire a coach and then you demote him to the defense. Say, you know what, coach, I'm going to demote you to the D coordinator and make your offense coordinator head coach. I know a lot of people see that, but when the Saints start winning, a lot of that's going to disappear, because what's going to happen is, because like I said, the biggest part of, and there's many things about Dennis Allen that needs to be reworked on in terms of his coaching acumen. But outside, if he can just work with just those things, that's a huge plus, to be honest with you. That's a huge plus. At least you're not hamstringing your team. You know what I'm saying? Don't take sides with the public. Just say, don't take sides in the public. Don't apologize to no rivals. Little stuff like that seem to kind of upset people. Please don't do that. Just stay out of it and keep your mind on football. Don't take sides. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right, so anyway, fam, I'm going to get out on that. Listen, I appreciate y'all guys for chiming in on today's show. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all do me a service. Please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share the show on the social media feed, man. We'll be on Patreon tomorrow, fam. Much love to y'all. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to my Instagram fam chiming in, my Twitter, fam as well, Twitch and everybody else, LinkedIn, Facebook. Shout out to you guys. And appreciate the family members for being here. You also feel free to hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button, hit the retweet button as well, or the re-X button, whatever you want to call it. Hit it up. And listen, I'll be back tomorrow on Patreon, fam. We'll go over some more Saints stuff. And tomorrow will be that first day of the Saints minicamp. It'll be a lot to talk about tomorrow. We'll cover it with interviews and everything on our Patreon stream on Tuesday. So I invite you guys to kind of join us on that, man. So with that being said, y'all have a beautiful rest of y'all night, and I'm going to holler at y'all on Patreon tomorrow. Much love. Who that to you, baby? Appreciate it.
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, 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 Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, money like this and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this and I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
WhoThatDaily.com. That's right, WhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, WhoThatDaily.com is your site. The WhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That in all of us. That's right, the Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. And remember, it helps the platform continue to grow. Check out the Pro Shop and Who That too.